Welcome back to The Book People, where I interview people whose lives and careers revolve around books. I'm your host Aishwarya, and today we are talking about bookstagrammers and book influencers. I personally love bookstagram accounts and I love following them because I find out about so many new and interesting books that I would have never heard of otherwise. But today I'm talking to Resh Susan. She started her Bookstagram account, The Book Satchel, on a complete whim in 2015, and today she has established herself in the book world and she has over 66,000 followers on social media. If you're always on the lookout for new books and new authors, you can tune into our other podcast, Books and Beyond with Bound, where we interview authors and find out more about their creative process. But right now, Resh is going to talk to me about how she decides which books to review, what makes a good book review, and how you can build your platform and become an influencer. So let's dive in. Hi, Resh.
Hi,
Welcome.
Aishwarya.
Hi. So I would love to know about your journey with the Book Satchel, because I know that you started in December 2015 with your blog and your Instagram. So how did you decide to start this? What was your intention behind it?
So, starting the book satchel was more like stumbling into it. I was in a kind of a stressful time in my life. And I was looking for some kind of hobby, distraction, and I was making a list of things that I could do. Book blog was kind of like the last thing in the list, but it seemed to be the only feasible thing because half the work was already done because I was reading anyway, and then I just need to write about the book. So it was the most what do you say, time effective thing that I could think of in the list. So I just took the plunge and thought I'd write about books because I enjoy reading them anyway. And during the same time, I stumbled onto Instagram. And before that, I didn't know what was Instagram. I wasn't not an Instagram kind of person. I think I started a personal account just 1 month before Book Satchel, and I have just one picture there all these years, never updated. So then I took a picture of what I was reading or what I was talking about.
So, I also wanted to ask you about the photography aspect of it because I know that you were sort of learning photography when you started the Book Satchel and you sort of merged these two interests together. So, what has that been like?
So for me, it was a lot of trial and error. So you take a photograph, and after a few days, when you look at it, in some photos something works. Like there is something that catches the eye. I think I spent a little time reading about color and how colors match with each other. You shouldn't have colors that clash in a photograph. It's a lot of trial and error basically, and Googling, lots of Google. And practice. I read somewhere that you have to take 100 photographs that you think are good, and all those will be really bad photographs after 3 months or something. So that was really true in my case. When I look back, I'm like, these are so bad, why did I post them? But it's part of the journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's inevitable. It's how you grow as a reader and even as a writer. You get more picky with books as you get older, I believe. When you're young, you just read anything and everything. But as you're older, you are like, okay, is this worth my time? Will I gain something if I read it?
So, how do you decide which book to read, and do you blog about every book that you've read?
I used to review a lot more when I started out because it felt like, the best thing to do. You read a book and you write about it. So if you check my really old reviews on the blog, you notice that it comes in a set structure, some introduction, what's good about it, what's bad about it, conclusion. It's the same thing. But as I kept writing that, I felt it had no life, that kind of post. Like even when I'm reading, I'm like, oh, good, 1, 2, 3. Something bad about the book, 1, 2, 3. And that's not what a reader expects. So now I write something. I mean, when I write something about a book, I speak about how the book spoke to me personally. Like, did I connect with something in the book, or maybe I connected with nothing in the book, but I really liked the language or the way the author used the words. Sometimes there's a rhythm in the prose. So
Yes.
what stood out to me, I write that because I think someone who is looking at a review of the book would like to know what exactly to expect from the book. They do not need to know everything good or everything bad about the book. If there's something glaringly bad or glaringly good, yes, you have to mention that. But otherwise, I try to write books with a personal connection in mind. And it does not really mean that you know, the book needs to be a positive review, or it has to be a book that really spoke to you. Sometimes a book doesn't work for you, but you know in your mind that this book will work for a person with this interest. And
Yes.
so, you know, the review has to be modeled in a way that these people would like it, but if you're someone with taste like me, you might not really enjoy.
I definitely agree because I think when we all read books, we either find something emotional to connect to, or we find something interesting in that we don't like, right? So it's all about your perspective more than just what this book is about. It's your
Right.
experience of reading this book.
Right. And that's also something I learned by reading others' work. Like when I read reviews or book stuff where someone is talking about the advantages and the disadvantages of a book, it really didn't, stand out to me. I didn't feel like reading it. But on the other hand, when someone says, these things did not work for me in the book at all, when someone feels very strongly, whether
Yes.
it is in a positive way or a negative way, I'm interested in knowing their opinions, their thoughts, why it did not work for them or why it worked for them. So yeah, so then that's how I write as well.
I think that's also what makes it accessible, because I think the analysis is a very literature thing, right? As a
Mm-hmm.
literature student, once upon a time, that's what you do, right? Like you read books and you analyze and you say, oh, it had these themes which were interesting, and it had this and it had that, but there is no space for yourself as a reader. There's no space
Exactly,
for what
exactly,
you feel, how something makes you feel, what do you enjoy, your personal tastes, like likes and dislikes in terms of reading. And I
exactly.
think like blogging or like bookstagramming is that space where you can give your opinions, right? Like where you can say, I liked this, I don't care if it's a good or bad thing, this is what I liked and this is what I dislike. I
Right,
think that's
right.
what also makes it maybe more accessible to readers.
Yes, because all readers, they're not related to the academic space. Some of
Yeah.
them, they read just for fun. You know, it doesn't have to be a book with a lot of meaning or a lot of something between the lines or a lot of
Yeah.
metaphors and all that. You know, if it provides an entertainment value, some readers are satisfied, and those readers are important as well.
So do you have certain favorite genres, or what kind of books do you like to read?
Uh, it um I read a lot of different genres, so it has turned out lucky for me. So I think when I write reviews, I do a lot of literary fiction and and books by women. Actually, that's not a genre, but usually I
Yeah,
tend
yeah,
to
yeah.
pick books by women. But I read a lot of dystopian, a little bit of fantasy. I enjoy short stories a lot, but this year, I mean, not this year, 2020, I think I read very few short stories. I like translated literature a lot, especially translations from Asia and Indian translation, especially those from South India and Northeast India. Northeast, I haven't read much, but it's something I really want to explore. Yeah, and I also read middle grade fantasy. So I have a newsletter. So I mostly write about middle grade in the newsletter. Yeah, so
Oh,
it's just a
cool.
mixed bag of different things. And I like cozy, comforting reads. I like that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have this. So my comfort read always is Shokola by Joanne Harris.
Mhm.
And it's just, I mean, obviously I like the book, I like the story, but it's just for the descriptions of chocolate,
I
because there's a
reread
lot
it
of
2 years ago, and every time I read it, I crave for chocolate. It's beautifully written.
yeah, so it's
Oh,
my
I
comfort because
I
I
forgot
read
my
it
favorite
while
genre.
eating chocolate. Yes.
Yes, my
What is your
favorite
favorite?
genre is magical realism, but I keep forgetting it when I speak to a different person. Yeah.
So do you have comfort reads that, you go to for certain things?
I do enjoy these countryside reads, British countryside books, and these crumbling mansions, rich
Yes.
aristocrats of 1800s. Those kind of books I really enjoy. I find it very comforting. Yeah, those are my comfort reads. Or sometimes a golden mystery, something like Agatha Christie. I really enjoy
Oh,
that. You don't
I
have to think
love
so
Agatha
much.
Christie.
You don't have to think so much, and it goes like, this person is dead, now we are going to find who killed you are not sitting there and thinking, oh, this person is dead, I'm sad, this person's wife is sad. It just moves fast. I really
Yes.
like, yeah, I really like golden mysteries.
Me too. I love Agatha Christie. I have a collection of Agatha Christie novels because they are very comforting. I agree. They're sort of like there's a formula to it, but they're still
Right.
surprising. They're able to
Yes.
still surprise you.
Right.
Definitely. Have your tastes changed over time, especially since you started blogging?
Yes, a lot. I mean, okay, I wouldn't say taste, but I would say I've become more and more picky over the years. Yeah, so in the beginning, you are like, oh, I want to read all the new books. I want to read what's hot and in season, and all that.
Mhm.
But now I think I become very, very picky, and I do read more backlist titles now.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's good that when I started this writing on my website and Instagram, I got introduced to so many new authors and writers, books, all that, which I would never have gotten if I hadn't been in that space. So that has been a really, really added advantage of being there.
Yeah. No, I think social media has sort of done that, right? It has,
Hmm.
I think reading used to be such a solitary activity. Like
Right.
for me growing up, right, it was something that you did sitting at home during summer vacation, like reading your own book, and it was such a solitary. And now it has just become very much a community thing
Right.
because of obviously Instagram and other social media where you have these obviously you have book clubs always, but now
Mm-hmm.
you have these communities and you have so many people reading so many books, so you have so many book recommendations, like you have so many
Right.
potential books that you can read but never get to
Yeah, and
never end up reading.
there's also this factor of accessibility and connecting people, because you can just sit in your room maybe after a tired day, and you can just say from your room what book you liked. Or
Yes.
people who make YouTube videos on books, they're sitting in their room talking about books, but people around the world are seeing them and taking their recommendations, and that's really something. I think social media has really connected readers.
I think it's made reading cool. Do you think
Oh,
that's true?
reading was always cool, but now others know that we are cool.
Exactly. What makes a book good?
um, Personally, I like it if a book has good language. That's something I really appreciate and enjoy. But otherwise, I'm not very picky in uh, what works for me. Sometimes I like very plot driven books if it's written well, and at other times if it's a character driven novel with no plot in my no plot in sight, I don't mind, I still like it. So yeah, as long as it's good language, I'm okay with it, whether it has a plot or whether it's more character driven. I do like it when there is some kind of entertaining value to the book. whether it be you get an emotional connection to the characters, or it's a light breezy read and you feel very relaxed and nice. Anything, but something should be there. That's all.
So, are book covers important to you as well? Like, do they influence whether you read a book or not?
Not really, not so much. But after I started, over the last 3-4 years, I've grown to appreciate cover designs more. And so, just like you find new authors, now I know there are so many illustrators who work, and I'm familiar with the work of different illustrators. So that has been helpful. So, and I follow a few people on Twitter and social media. So that is good in a way, but I wouldn't be like, if the book has a bad cover, then I won't pick it up. No, I'm not like that. Though I do not like movie tie-in versions. I think they are. I think they should be banned. They are so unappealing and they look so bad. And yeah, the only advantage is they come at a lower price. So sometimes you have to buy it, but I really hate the movie tie-in covers. So if I can avoid buying a movie tie-in cover, I would do that. Of course, pretty books are always eye candy. I enjoy seeing them, but it doesn't really influence what I read. However,
But
if suppose you're
yes,
browsing a bookstore and there's a really striking cover, then you tend to pick that book first, I feel. So the cover design is really, really important to the book. I love Coralie Bickford designs. I love Yeti, who works in Tinder Press. She does amazing cover designs. Then this year, from India, I really like the cover of The Women Who Invented Facebook and Other Stories. I thought that was a
yes,
very nice and interesting cover. You see that cover, you want to pick the book up. That was really nice.
yes. I
Then,
was going to mention that exact book for the cover.
uh,
No, but you've been able to, build this community and you have this blog. So, what is it like to have that kind of influence over what people read?
I think it comes with a lot of responsibility, which is another reason why I am very, very picky with the books. So I do get a lot of review requests, and I try to see if that book will work for me, because I don't think it makes sense to simply take a book because it's new. If it does not work for me, I'm going to be like, this was okay. And even my audience wouldn't be the people who enjoy the book. So it does not make sense. So I try to be picky with what I read. I go through the blurb, I see, if I have read the author before.
Mhm.
Yeah, it goes through all that process. So I am picky, that's one thing. And it comes with a lot of responsibility, because I would like to match a book with the intended reader, not simply talk about a book and say, this is
Right.
good. Yeah, because what is good to me might not be good to another person. So often I'll try to give something like, if you enjoyed this book, you might enjoy this book, which is really easy for other people to connect with.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. I think the responsibility part is the major thing.
No, definitely. And I think, because you are someone who reads so many translations, and you read sort of a diverse range of books, do you also feel like there is a little bit of pressure to make sure that the books you're featuring are diverse or, um, in some sense, like underrated in order to make sure that they're getting some kind of an exposure or that people are hearing about these authors or books that they might not maybe know that much about?
Not really, because as I said before, since my reading list itself is kind of, all over the place, genre wise and country wise. So it's usually what I'm reading at the moment. But I do feel I wish I feature more underrated gems. Like last year, there was this book, I mean, in 2020, Name, Place, Animal, Thing from Zuban.
Yeah.
It was such a wonderful book. It was about nostalgia and growing up in Shillong. It was written so well and it was so amazing. But I think it is really underrated. I didn't see a lot of it on social media, and I really hope more people read that book this year, maybe. I
No, but
wish
even
I could read more Korean books, Korean translations, because I enjoy Korean dramas a lot. So it just makes
I
sense.
saw that you have an article on your blog about Korean
Yeah,
dramas.
they are so good.
The drama. Yeah.
They are so entertaining, and sometimes you're like, is that even a plot? But you're like, oh, okay, happy. Everyone is happy in the end.
No, I have so
So
many friends who have gotten so much into K-pop and K-drama that they're learning Korean during the pandemic
yes,
just so that
I started learning it, 2 weeks, and I was like, oh, there's no time.
So, do you also end up, working with publishers to feature certain books? And what is that like? For people who might want to become like book bloggers or bookstagrammers, who want to enter that space, it's for them to sort of understand how, um, because it's sort of a space which is not within the publishing industry per se, but is adjacent to it, or, complementary to it. How does that work?
So at this point, um, I am in touch with publicists, and over the years, many of them know me, and I know some of them. So when some book comes, some book release is there that fits with my reading taste. Usually, I'll be sent an email, or yeah, email usually, asking if would you like to have a copy and for a review consideration. And yes, if it's something that sounds like something I'll enjoy, I accept it. So for someone who is new, I'd say the best way would be to write an email. There would be an email in the website of the publisher. Just write an email, introduce yourself, introduce your platform and work. Like if you have a website, what is it about? What do you focus on? If you'd like to mention some stats, mention the stats. Um if you want, you can link one review or something. Yeah, and then just ask them, do you have a review copy? I would love to have a copy. I would love to request for a copy and just send it. And 99% of the time you wouldn't get a reply because that is just how it is.
Yeah.
So just try again after 2 months or 3 months. Yeah, that's all. And keep a watch out on Instagram and Twitter because lots of publishers they do a lot of giveaways, and sometimes
Mhm.
publicists they you send out a tweet or something that review copies are up for grabs. Is there anyone who is interested? I haven't seen that a lot in India, but
Yeah.
US and UK you see that a lot, and mostly it's for their country as in for US and UK, but
Yeah.
international arcs are also being given like that, so you just have to reply to that and maybe DM them or email them your thing, and if they think you're a good fit they'll send it to you.
Publicists give a lot of, advanced reader copies out and have a lot of giveaways in Canada. When I was
Mm-hmm.
working in publishing there and I was doing my publishing course. But in
Mm-hmm.
India, I haven't seen that as much
Yes, even
here.
I have noticed that in case of advanced reading copies, I don't think uh, India has that many advanced reading copies. Maybe soft copies, but not physical advanced reading copies. Yeah, soft copies are there, but they're not really easy to read because there's a huge watermark in between, and you cannot send it to your Kindle. You have to read it as a PDF. It's quite strenuous. But India, I think mostly we have finished books being sent out. Yeah, but in case of US, Canada, UK, you do get advanced reading copies. I guess
Yeah,
it depends on the marketing budget for the particular book. They have a
definitely.
wider audience and we have a smaller audience, I guess.
Yes. you have any tips for people who want to maybe start a blog or who are considering starting a Bookstagram account?
Don't wait to be that perfect person or that perfect writer or that perfect photographer to start. It's only when you start that you'll make mistakes, and you'll make so many mistakes that you'll be so embarrassed of yourself. Like, I would never read any of the older things that I've written because I'll be so embarrassed. I'd want to delete them all and, start new in 2021. So you are going to make mistakes, but that's how you learn. You need to make mistakes. And the thing is, you are making mistakes in front of so many other people. Like, if you are writing in a diary and keeping it, you're simply writing something and keeping it. You're never revisiting it, or going through one more round of edits or something like that. But when you are publishing
Yeah.
something, whether it's an Instagram caption or a post, you write it, then you read it again, you'll find so many errors. You read it once again, you'll find so many errors, and then as you write, you'll realize that these things don't work, or these things make my post very boring. So, how can you make it interesting? How can I be a better writer? Something that happened with me when I was writing Instagram captions was,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not now, early in the long, long
Yes.
ago days, it just felt like I had the same thing to say every day and the same set of words. How do you, okay, you had tea, but you cannot write, I had tea, next post, I had tea, I had tea. There's something, you need to add something. And it really helps you to, as I said, take a step back and see how you can describe something, or how you can say something so that it expresses what you are feeling, or how you can say something so that it moves the other person who is reading it. And that comes just with practice and falling down and getting up. Don't be disheartened of the stats, because as um, probably all the people who watch this, they already know the Instagram algorithm is a brutal one. It wasn't like that when I
Yes.
started out. So even it's brutal for everyone. There is no reach, and I have no idea what they are thinking with that algorithm.
Yeah. And it
So
keeps
just
changing
keep.
as well, which can be
Yes, I have no idea
challenging.
what is happening, and it really makes you not love it so much. I think maybe 4 years or 3, 4 years ago, I used to love Instagram so much, but now I'm like, oh, okay, whatever I do, it doesn't work. But the
What
community
about,
is there,
yeah,
so I stay for the community. So don't go
what
behind
about
stats.
reels?
I
Will
haven't done it.
you, are you
I'm a
considering,
very, I'm an
are
oldie
you
in that
considering?
department. I don't know. I feel like maybe 5 years ago I would have done it, but I feel a little old. But Reels is really good for engagement. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really pushing out Reels into everyone's face. So
Yeah.
if you're,
I've been doing reels for Bound. Like Bound has
uh-huh,
been trying to do more reels, and it's actually very fun. Like it takes forever, and it's a very long run process, and it takes up a lot of time. But when it's done, it feels fun personally to me. So I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe
and
give it a try.
it's very entertaining, that I should admit. Because if it's not entertaining, you're not gonna watch it, right?
So what about, the pandemic? Let's come to elephant in the room that has been 2020. has it how has it affected your reading habits in any way?
Yes, a lot actually. I think the pandemic news set in March or something, and I couldn't read anything for months. Uh, that stress and the tension was always there at the back of the head.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and we were stuck here. We couldn't travel anywhere, and I'm a freelancer, so work was also, a lot of projects were cancelled, and I'm thinking about money, that there's so many things, and even thinking, are we going to die? Those kind of thoughts. So
Yeah.
I couldn't read at all. And then I read Otessa Moshfegh's book, The Year of Rest and Relaxation,
Yes.
and I think that kind of pulled me into the reading mode. I really enjoyed it. And after that, yeah, it was okay. But then I started reading backlist books, some books which were always on my, someday I will read list, like
Mm-hmm.
Middlemarch and The Secret History. And that kind of, you know, um, put me back on the step.
Yeah, I think I've also been rereading a lot. So I also spent months where I couldn't read
Hmm.
because like that
You can't help
very
it.
difficult to get that focus, right? To be able
Right.
to deeply immerse yourself into a book and focus on it long enough to follow what is happening in the story.
Right, right. I didn't read any new books for quite a while, but yeah, the
Yeah.
good
I've
books
also been
brought
rereading
me
a
back,
lot.
I guess. Like
Yeah.
I read The Secret History for the first time in 2020, and I was blown away. I was like, wow. And my review is just one line. It's worth the hype. That's all. Because there's nothing I want to say about it. It's so perfect.
So
So
I've
do
been
you pick
currently
books
listening to
based on the
that.
hype? I'm just
I
curious.
don't. I don't. Which is why I actually don't like to read books which become very, very popular
Mhm.
because I feel like I'm a contrarian at heart. So I refuse to read something if it becomes
Same,
extremely
same,
popular.
same,
You know,
same.
if it's too mainstream, I can't do it. So it has to be like popular enough where like certain people I trust, or actually like feminist platforms telling me to read a book, I'll read it,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
But if it's too popular, I won't. The self-help thing is an exception to the rule.
Yes, and that is something I would add. When you are in writing about books or talking about books online, it's really nice to experiment. I used to experiment a lot, pick up books that I would never pick up. It helps to know your reading taste. If you never pick a book, how do you
Yeah,
know whether you like it or not like it?
exactly. Okay, coming back to the pandemic, final question about the pandemic. Do you think is going to change the kind of books that get published over the next few years, or is it going to change the way, the publishing industry functions?
I think there's definitely a lot of books in pandemic fiction that is going to be published. Yeah, so and a lot of people are writing it as well. So yeah, that's definitely there. But as a reader, I do hope we have more of hopeful books and books that bring joy, and not just books that remind us of that terrible, terrible year that we have had. So yeah, as a reader, that is my wish. I hope writers are listening.
So, what's next for you in 2021 or for the next five
I
years?
never make
What's
plans.
the plan?
I never make plans because I seldom stick to them. I'm more of an impulsive person. So
Mhm.
even books actually, it was kind of on an impulse. And I still have one notebook paper where I've written, stop that, do work. Like I had other work to do. So I still have it. And I'm glad I didn't listen to that. It was like one reminder or posted that, stop doing that and do your actual work. So I am a very impulsive person. So I seldom make any plans. But yeah, this year I hope I'll read more backlist titles. I'm planning to cut down on my new books reading. Yeah. And I want to read lesser. I think that's the wrong thing to say in this discussion. But yeah, I'm hoping to read lesser because there are some other things I want to do, like travel a bit or cook more.
Yes, of
I
course.
didn't, yeah, I want to do some experimental cooking and stuff, and all of that requires time. So,
Yeah.
and visit people more. I haven't visited so many of my relatives and friends for such a long time. So, I think a lot of time is going to go for that if the pandemic is over. Yeah. So,
When?
until
If
then,
and
I'll be
when?
reading.
Currently, so how many books do you end up reading like during a month?
um,
I mean, it doesn't have to be
Uh,
an exact number.
so over the year, I think I read about 100. 80 to 100 over a year.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's not it's not like they are all big chunky books or heavy classics or literary fiction or something. Since
Hmm.
I do read a lot of genres. Some of them are picture books, some of them are children's books, some of them are middle grade graphic novels. So the number doesn't
Love
really
graphic
mean
novels.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, number doesn't really mean much. And I also read many books at a time. So at a time, I would have some 4 or 5 books in my list, and I would be reading all of them simultaneously. I get bored very
How,
easily.
how do you do that? How do you read simultaneously? Do you read like
I,
one book for an hour and then you take a break from that book so you read another book?
yeah, yeah, something like that. Probably it won't be,
Wow.
yeah. Like if I'm reading it at night, I would read some 50, 70 pages of one book and then move on
Mhm.
to another book because I get bored very easily. So I need to keep myself on my toes. And I don't have this. Some people have a problem of plots clashing and they can't read many
Huh.
books at a time. I don't have that problem. And usually, when I pick the books, I pick different things. Like, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
like
put,
different genres, so it
yes,
wouldn't
yes,
be
yes,
confusing.
yes, exactly. So it's just like watching TV. One day you're watching a documentary, next day you're watching a chick flick, and next day you're watching something more serious. Yeah, it just feels like that.
So what are you reading right now?
I just finished a middle grade book called A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. Should I ask you questions now? What are you reading right
No.
now?
I'm going to read Nisha Susan.
Uh,
I feel like now I suddenly feel like, oh, I'm also a simultaneous reader, and I feel very cool about myself. Like I feel proud. Like now I can go brag about this to people. But no, I'm going to read Nisha Susan. I'm listening to Atomic Habits.
mhm.
I am also reading, I don't remember the author's name right now, but Eleanor Oliphant is Fine.
Oh, I love that book. It's such a, heartwarming, lovable, such a wonderful book. You feel so happy reading it. I just gave it to my neighbor yesterday on New Year to borrow.
That one also has a great cover with the
Mm-hmm.
matchsticks as a
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
I
True,
love
true.
that cover.
I really like it when cover designers pay that extra attention to the plot of the book and then have it on the cover. It adds that extra zing.
Yes.
I really like that.
So Rish, thank you so much for doing this, for coming here and talking to me and answering all these fun questions about books
A
and
pleasure,
about.
a pleasure. It's always nice to talk about books.
So that was Resh Susan talking about how being an influencer comes with a lot of responsibility in terms of what kind of books you read and review because you have so much power over people's reading choices. Finding out that she reads 4 to 5 books at the same time made me feel like, oh, maybe I can do this as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and all of our amazing book recommendations. This podcast is brought to you by Bound, a company that helps you tell your stories. And you can find us at Bound India on all social media platforms and find the video version of this series on our YouTube channel. If you want to listen to your favorite authors talk about books, their creative process, and their writing routines, check out our OG podcast, Books and Beyond with Bound, where Tara and Michelle interview some of the finest authors of India. Thanks for tuning in to The Book People. I'm Aishwarya, and I'll be back next week with another guest and a new question to answer. Until then, keep reading.